Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Oh, my connection is poor.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm sorry for being late, but you might have guessed that I have connectivity issue. Actually, since yesterday, I think my router shorted out. So I'm waiting for the technician today from the cable company, and I'm connecting through my phone, using my phone as the hotspot. But I already maxed out. I mean, if you're using your phone as the hotspot, the data uh, they give limited data, so I maxed out already. So the connection is very slow, and I'm afraid it might quality of connection is not that good, and you might experience, I don't know. You guys can hear me all right? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good, good. But even this connection might be unstable. So we'll have to make the best of it while I'm experiencing this. Uh, but let's hope that we let's tomorrow I'll be back on the regular system. So here, so I posted a couple of things. I think I posted one message. I mean, I don't know if you guys got it. The homework 2, right? I posted that message today, and everyone got their homework 1 back by now, right? Everyone got it back. So this is homework 2, right? So please read it and should get started on it. And today we're gonna go into. So the last thing is where's my? Oh, anyway, it's the Excel file. So it's gonna be here. Oh, open it from. It's taking so much time. Okay, so please bear with me. It takes a lot of time. So yesterday we basically, we built amortization schedule, right? So if you completed the schedule with me, now it's time to do some soul searching about it. So what is the amortization schedule for, and what kind of benefit can we get from it? First of all, amortization is basically how you pay off your loan. Okay, but first of all, the verb amortize, to amortize, it means basically bringing the debt to its death, right? Amortize. So where's my, yeah, there's the whiteboard. So now if you think about it, right, if you have a debt, and I said this over and over, you have, and let's say you have 30-year mortgage, right? And you borrowed, let's say, 500K. Now the way the way you pay this back is not in a single lump sum. It's not a single cash flow. I mean, over time, right? 500K, it's here at time 0. it's going to be paid off like this, right? This is year 30 then, right? This is, so this is called decaying pattern, decay. In other words, when everything decays, then it dies, right? Or decay is what happens, when something dies, right? And this shape, gradual decline, but decline was relatively not that steep. It was, but as time goes on, it gets steeper and steeper, right? If you see something that decomposes, as time goes on, it will decompose at a very faster rate. That's called amortization. And think about it. That's how you pay. So that's how you pay down your debt. You pay down. In other words, the balance, principal balance, goes down as you make the payment. All right. Hence, that's amortize. Pay down. Right. And then amortization schedule shows that amortization schedule shows how your look at the ending balance of the principal, right? Look at the principal balance. It basically it goes down, right, in decaying pattern. Now, also what you can see is the way it is broken down. Monthly, each month, right? It's the same payment, and it breaks down into interest and principal. But as you can see, in the first payment, interest is the biggest, and then it goes down as time goes on. That means principal is the smallest early on, and it gets bigger and bigger as time goes on, right? Therefore, ending balance decreases like this because, so anyway, another benefit from the amortization schedule is, suppose you want to completely pay it off, right? So for the first year, you bought this car, and for the first year, you were making monthly payments, right? You were making monthly payments for the first year. But then, you came by a large sum of money, and you got tired. You got tired of making these monthly payments. So since you came by a large sum of money, you want to pay it off. So then our next question is then, what is my payoff amount? What's my payoff amount, right? And at the end of ending balance, right? Ending principal balance at the end of 12th month is this. So this is your payoff amount, right? Payoff. But actually, you will know, why isn't it showing? So without any, doubt, right? You will know very clearly what is your payoff amount. Of course, the actual payoff amount will be slightly about, probably about $20 more than that because, those are, basically, fees, right? To actually, there will be some, transaction cost, right? But, more or less, it's like this. So that gives you an idea, right? And you thought probably the amortization schedule is very heavy, not just heavy, but heady. But actually, once you get the hang of it, I mean, you only need to build right? You need to have, of course, first, you need to know the monthly payment. So you need to have this table, right? And then, which is basically, how you solve for payment in the present value of annuity. And then amortization schedule. You only need to build the first. You only need to build the first row, and only beginning balance in the second month. You just link it to the ending balance of the first month, and then you just drag down everything. You drag down everything, so you can do it in 2 minutes, and most of those 2 minutes, probably 1 minute 30 seconds is the time you have to spend for doing this. But then the rest of it, amortization schedule itself, uh, shouldn't take more than 30 seconds, right? Or 30 seconds to 1 minute, right? This is, this is the beauty of Excel. This is our handy um, but of course, the important thing is the architectural design of the program. I mean, programming or coding. I mean, basically, this is Excel coding. I mean, this model is the result of Excel coding. But when you build a model like this, you got to think about the architecture. It should look. I mean, everything should be neatly in a single model, right? If all of these are, you calculate one by one here and there. A lot of people did that in homework one. There's no architecture, right? In other words, it's like a, nomad, just setting up a camp here and there, as needed. But there's no, architectural mind there, right? In other words, without the integrated system, right? It's just like a hunter-gatherer, just nomadic life, just scattered here and there. Well, you should, you like to play those games. I never, the only video games I played was back in the 1980s, and that was early 1980s, so it was arcade game, late 70s and early 80s. And since then, obviously computer games have come a long way. And then you guys, these days, they have a game that, build a civilization, blah, blah, blah. There was even that game, build civilization. Look, what is a civilization? Civilization is an integrated system, right? You have to have a city that has, running water, sewer system, infrastructure, road networks, blocks, all of those things require the architectural design, the mind that can design that architecture, right? So think about that when you do the homework. And if you watched my lecture, I mean, if you participated in the lecture, in the collaborate session, you've seen it over and over. And even if not, my lecture videos are pre-released, like 2 days ahead. If you have watched them, you understand what I'm talking about. And even if you missed that, I post the recording of the live session every day. So by watching that, you study what is architectural design, right? The systems architecture, So the next homework 2, I hope to see more, more of, integrated system uh, by a uh, efficient and aesthetic architectural design, right? That all right. So now that wraps up everything about the um, annuities, right? Annuities. Um, so we now need to move on. Oh, I will still need to show you how the annuity formula is derived, but I will do that when we have time. So next, what I'm going to do next is why is it? We're moving on to okay. We're moving on to effective interest rate, or APY, effective annual rate, or APY. So what does effective interest rate is something you've already heard, right? It's nothing new. In other words, when did you hear the effective interest rate? When did you hear that? Anyone? Does anyone remember? Effective rate is nothing new. Does anyone remember?
The simple interest?
Yes, yes. And
Surely.
Shirley. Okay, yeah, Shirley, you got 0.5. Yes, in the simple interest rate, we talked about effective interest rate. Um, Shirley, 0.5. That was today is 0803. I'm gonna have to clear this out. I don't know if yours is clear cleared out. If yours is not cleared out, please clear it out. If your file is not in column I. So remember, what was effective interest rate? In simple interest rate, it meant remember is if we convert discount rate into interest rate, that's effective interest rate. So the idea is, when you discount a $10,000 promissory note, right, by 10%, discount by 10%, we know how it breaks down. It breaks down into a bank discount of 1K and proceeds of 9K, right? This bank discount of 1K, you understand, that's the interest you pay up front, right, to get 9K, right? You receive 9K, and you paid 1K as interest up front, right? But for that, you gave up 10K, right? You gave up 10K. So so in this case, bank discount is 1K. It looks like, oh, so you pay the interest of upfront interest of 10%. But actually, I told you, in terms of interest rate, you paid 11.11%, not 10%. Why? Because obvious, you paid you paid 1K, right? You paid 1K for, you paid 1K to get 9K. In other words, so this is like principal for 9K principal, you paid interest of 1K. Then it will have to be, it's not 10%, it's 11.11%. So that's what is meant by effective interest rate. Effectively, you paid, if someone says, oh, you paid just 10%, interest, it's like, no, that's not accurate. That's not accurate because you paid 11, and it's just like that. Now let's think about it. We all know, in compounding, we, what do I have to do? In compounding, we all know, although it's $1,000, same $1,000, same 6%, same 5 years, but depending on compounding frequency, we all know the future value is different. The future gets simply collapse them, okay, to show you later. But anyway, the idea is we all know the future value is greater. The future value is greater, higher the compounding frequency. Isn't that right? Because there's more compounding going. Same 5 years, same 6%, but annual compounding, semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. Now think about it. We'll know then periodic rate is still the same, 6%, but in semi-annual 3%, and quarterly 1.5. You have smaller periodic compounding, periodic rates, interest rates, but they get compounded more compounded more frequently. So for 5 years, there will be 5 compoundings in this case, but there are 10 compoundings, 20 compoundings, 60, 1825 compoundings. So obviously you will have the future value gets bigger, right? As compounding frequency gets higher. But then what is then think about it. You cannot say the interest rate you cannot say the effective rates are all the same, right? Effective annual rate, right? Effective annual rates are all the same. Think about it. This one, yeah, it's annual compounding, so 6%, no change. But what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take? Let's say for $1,000 to grow to this in 5 years, if the interest rate, if the compounding is just annual, right? Once a year. I mean, forget um, forget these compounding frequencies, but collapse, hide columns. Okay, so forget the compounding frequencies, but for $1,000 to grow, so we'll have to, I guess I'll have to also hide that column, right? So what kind of interest rate will it take, right, for this $1,000 to grow to 1,000, this future value, which is clearly, which is, greater than this, annual compounding. So if it is compounded annually, right, compounded annually for 5 years, what kind of interest rate, what kind of annual rate will take it to this? And then it's not 6%. It will be more than 6. It will have to be more than 6%, right? That annual rate that will, take you to, that will take $1,000 to this in 5 years is 6.09. It will have to be greater than 6% to arrive at this, right? And what kind of interest rate, annual rate will take this $1,000 to this? It will be this rate, right? And so on. I mean, so this is annual, semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. This is daily compounding. If you do by daily compounding, of course, you will arrive at this. But if you're not doing daily compounding, but just if you're doing just annual compounding, just once a year, what kind of interest rate will take this $1,000 to this, right? And it is this. The rate that will take you to this result is this. So this is effective interest rate. Effective interest rate, or it's also called APY, annual percentage yield. So APY is something you would often hear. Suppose you put $10,000 in the bank. Let's say I'm going to change this to $10,000 to make it more. Because if you buy CD, of course you can put only like $5,000 or $2,000 in the CD and buy a fraction. But one CD account is basically 10,000, and if you do that, they will tell you, APR 6%, APY 6 point something, right? I hear a lot of dings. Elizabeth, oh yeah, you raised that, right, Elizabeth? Yeah, Elizabeth, go
hi,
ahead.
Professor. I want to, Professor, is you sharing your screen? Because I don't see anything that you're sharing. I just wanted to know if you were sharing your screen. Are you sharing your screen?
I'm sharing screen.
I don't see it, so I just wanted to let you know I don't see it.
Oh, I guess you might need to refresh your browser. Other people, is there anyone else who cannot see the screen?
I did that also. It didn't work, but I'm going to try again.
Or maybe try another browser. Try a different browser. Maybe sometimes it's the sometimes you need to keep your browser updated. Okay, you can lower your hand if you. So too bad, this is happening, but anything can happen. I mean, also, when you're, I told you, since I'm, connecting through my, phone, which is, it's called, hotspot. If you're using your phone for the Wi-Fi center, Wi-Fi, or sometimes someone said they jury wired the connection. I didn't, I didn't quite understand what that meant. They somehow, used some intermediary, right? But I guess they use, when that person said, he jury wired the connection, then probably he meant this, using his phone as, hotspot. But, when and these things, there's a data transfer limit. I mean, when you have used up, all that data transfer uh, allowance, then the speed, your data transfer speed gets limited, and then there will be the voices will break up, and transfer it gets slower. But anyway, but everyone can see what I'm talking about, right? Everyone can see what I'm talking about, except for a couple of people. So, oh, where was I? So yeah, if you go to a bank, open a CD account, and they will tell you APR is 6%, but APY is 6.9 or something. If they say 6.09, then compounding frequency is semi-annual. If they say APY is 6.18, then it must be a monthly compounding or something like that. Also, when you borrow money from the bank, still the same thing. They say if you borrow, $100,000, if your loan is $100,000, your interest rate is 6%. APR is 6%, but APY, right? APY 6 point something. That means they are compounding, right? They are compounding, monthly or quarterly. You can tell. Now, so how do you calculate the APY? It's basically column I is the idea. Column I is basically 100%, doubling if the interest rate is 100%. Okay, so you get you saw this when I was talking about the Euler's number. Suppose your money doubles every period, every year or every quarter if money doubles. Why? Because that one this one means what? That one means 100%. Isn't that right? That one means 100%. So so if your money grows 100%, if M is 1, that means annually your money grows 100%. What's okay? And see, if M is 1, right? Annual. Also here, let me open this. Okay. And close this. Okay. Of course, there will be no, there's no change, there's no difference. If M is 1, we all know there's no difference. So I'll just, you will still have, you will have 2 then, because, your principal doubles every time, right? 1 over M. Okay, and then raised to m during a single year is gonna be compounded m times. Of course, if compounding frequency is annual, it just gets compounded. And that's something we can already expect, because if the return is 100%, interest rate is 100%, you will have you'll have 100%. Your money will double, right? 100%. And then once you have done that, you just use copy and drag. So it will give you except for the last one. Okay. Oh. That thing got copied as well. So here, you see what's happening. You remember Euler's number? This is the proof of Euler's number, right? And what is Euler's number? When this m goes to infinity, what's the ultimate? When it goes to infinity, in that limit, what's the ultimate result of that? Continuous compounding, right? And the Euler's number is 2.7182 something something. Now, to have basically Euler's number, to use Euler's number, you have to use exp. It means exponential function, right? And then you give in our in column I, our in column I, right? Our rate is 100%, so you put 1 there, right? And then just one compounding, so 1 times 1, 1 year, 1 times 1, it's still 1. We don't have to do anything. But if you do that, you'll see. You see that? This is Euler's number, right? This is how we get to Euler's number. But you will see the difference isn't that from here and from here, that's what. It's almost, not that much different. You see, when the compounding frequency gets to like 10,000, and above 10,000, the ultimate value of this compounding, so in other words, the compounding factor gravitates, or it tends toward 2.7182 something. I mean, actually from, let me draw it up. Maybe it's better here. Move this. You see? It's all 2.71828, right? So in other words, the higher the infinity, the compounding frequency of infinity doesn't make that much difference from beyond, from beyond, almost, that's 100,000 compoundings, right? That's 1 million compoundings. pretty much about, somewhere here. I mean, practically also 2.718. We see 2.718 from already 10,000 compoundings, right? So then that's when the rate is 100%. But in our example, the rate is 6%. So we do the same thing, but simply having replacing, that 1 by 6, and then 1 plus, right, APR m raised to m minus 1. That minus 1 is to make it net return. Net return. I mean, if you don't do that, then everything will be 106%, 10618. Why? Because that's gross return, right? You understand? So subtract 1, then we get net return, and you see how that's how we find, effective interest rate. Okay, now you're clear about effective interest rate, everyone? So this is the effective interest rate. Alrighty, so I think that wraps up everything about the time value of money. Okay, so this is a good time to take a break. I believe it's it's like 3:55. So let's take a 10-minute break and reconvene at like 4:05. All right. Alrighty. So I'll see you soon in 10 minutes. All right, we're back. We're back. So we're gonna have okay. I think your homework 2 is due this Friday, and after so after this one, I think it's gonna be there will be an announcement about there will be an announcement about the midterm, right? The midterm will cover simple interest and time value of money, right? Compound interest. So we've covered everything for the midterm. So also look out for the midterm announcement. Okay, it's gonna be out. Um, so everyone can hear me. Please let me know because I'm having some Wi-Fi issue. I have so it could be intermittent. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So now, so next topic, we're gonna move on to the next topic, which is financial statements. So if you go to next topic, course material and financial statements, and compound interest and time value of money, all of these. Okay, there's homework to preview already. That's not right. That's not right. I'm gonna have to make it unavailable. Um, but maybe not. I guess making it doesn't matter. I guess you can benefit from this. It's not exactly referring to everything. So okay, so it should be available. And so obviously by now, uh, oh, these are all you cannot, they are no longer, it's grayed out. They are all grayed out. That means they are no longer visible to you. But again, everything is, I gave you my YouTube channel. You can go to my YouTube channel and study everything there. And also, I'm posting, by the end of the day, I'm posting everything. The recording of the live session, so you can still. So next topic is financial statements, and now these are active, right? These videos are active, still active. So you're gonna you're supposed to you're supposed to have already studied these. Um, but before we move on to the financial statements, let me just quickly, very briefly, let's see if my network is okay. That now I got that Spectrum network, so I think I'm fine. Okay, let me show you how that formula is derived. For example, I'll show you just one formula. Future value of annuity. We all know future value of annuity, the concept of that. it's basically we all know the formula is like this: payment times 1 plus r raised to n minus 1 over r. So how did we arrive at that one? Okay, how did we arrive at that one? Why is that the reduced? So if we go back to the original concept, right? If we go back to maybe it's better to do it like this. You know, it's payment, first payment. Will earn interest 1 plus r raised to n, right? And basically the concept is second payment. Actually, the first deposit will earn interest, you know, n minus 1 times, but you know, we'll just let it. And then, you know, if we keep going, right, the last payment is not going to earn anything because in ordinary annuity, the last deposit or last payment is just, you know, like a dipping, you know, into the bank account. Just dip it in and then take out, right? So it's too small to. So that is the concept. And if we, so this is the last payment, right? This is the first payment, but you know, to make it look to make it look as if it progresses from the smaller number to the largest number, we can rewrite it like this: payment plus payment times 1 plus r, right? This is the second. This is the last payment, the second from the last, and then this is the second payment, and this is really, you know, I need bigger whiteboard. I mean, this is obviously, but you get what I'm you understand what I'm talking about. This one, the PMT times 1 plus r raised to n, which is the actually first payment. And I'm gonna call this let's call this equation 1. This and then we're gonna multiply both sides by 1 plus r. Okay. If we multiply both sides 1 plus r, the first term will be payment times 1 plus r. The second term will be payment times 1 plus r squared, and so on. It keeps on going like this. So and if you remember, actually, you know, this should be 1. In an ordinary annuity, the first deposit will earn interest n minus 1 times compounded, n minus 1 times. Remember from the that graduate school fund example, the first deposit at the end of the first month, you make the first deposit at the end of the first month. So until the end of the last month, 60th month, there are 59 compoundings, right? So actually the equation 1 will end with payment times 1 plus r raised to n minus 1. That's equation 1. And if you multiply 1 plus r to equation 1, it's going to look like, this. And then it keeps on going. And then the second from the last one will be payment times 1 plus r n minus 1. And the last one will be payment times 1 plus r raised to n. Because, previously, if you multiply, think about it. Multiply 1 plus r, across everything, then, this one will become, the last term was n minus 1, it will become n. And the one before it, 1 plus r n minus 2, it will become payment times 1 plus r raised to n minus 1. So basically, everything will have one more 1 plus r, and let's call this equation 2. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract equation 1 from equation 2. And if you do that, what's going to happen? First of all, I'm subtracting, in other words, from this equation 1, the whole thing, equation 1 is being subtracted. Equation 1 is subtracted, right? So that means, this term, so everything here, everything in equation 1 will change sign. Whatever, it is now all negative. Everything is negative because you're subtracting it. Then this term and this term will cancel out. And this term and the next one will cancel out. It will cancel out, cancel out. That will cancel out, of course. And then we'll have basically in the left-hand side, it's going to be FVA. Left-hand side will be times 1 plus R minus FVA. That's the left-hand side. And then what's it going to be? It's FVA times 1, which is FVA. And then this one will be FVA times R. And these two will cancel out, right? On the right-hand side, we have payment, and which is negative because it was all subtracted, and what you have left here is payment times 1 plus r raised to n, right? Payment times 1 plus r raised to n. So we know this result is 2 minus 1. Now we can, so then we can factor out payment. If I factor out payment, this term will be 1 plus r raised to n, and this term is minus 1. Now remember, in the left-hand side, we have FVA times r in the left-hand side. Right-hand side, we have this. So if I, instead of, I'll just erase. So if I, if I FBA times R, and in the right-hand side we have payment times 1 plus R raised to n minus 1. So then what is our goal? What are we solving for? We're solving for FBA. So think about it. It is now x times y equals z structure. This whole thing is so this whole thing is like z. So you want to know x, z divided by y. So then, solving for FBA. And the thing in the bracket, payment times the thing in the bracket over R. That's exactly how we arrive at that formula, right? I mean, if I rewrite everything, of course, so basically, it's the same thing. I can, it doesn't matter if you, excuse me, it's payment times in the numerator is payment times the thing in the bracket. I can pull out, payment here. It's still the same thing, and then here you can grab everything into a bracket. So here it's going to be 1 plus R raised to n minus 1 divided by R, right? So this is how it was derived. You can memorize it, but memorization, there's a certain limitations to that. There's a certain limit. You can't really take the memorization that far. Okay, so that's I just if you can, it's just algebra, right? And if you can do this, then you don't have to memorize anything. You can always derive from the scratch. All right, so that brings us, that's how it is derived. Now, financial statements. So when we say financial statements, there are, where did it go? There are 4 types of financial. We're talking about actually 4 different statements. Most of the times we are, what are those 4 statements? The first one is income statement. Second one is balance sheet. Third one is cash flow statement. Fourth one is retained earnings statement. Now, these statements, analyzing these statements, are called fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis. When you say fundamental, it's all based on this data. Okay, I guess my spectrum technician is coming, so excuse me. I'll have to get this call. Hello. All right, basically, it's a notification, automated notification that the technician is on the way, and his actually he's expected to be here at 5 p.m. So I will have to I will have to finish the class a little early today. So because this appointment is 5 p.m., so I'm gonna let you go by 4:55. Okay, so but until then, we have to do the maximum. We have to do whatever I can. So fundamentals. When we say fundamentals, they are all based on this, financial statements, right? All the numbers in the financial statements make up fundamental analysis. And the fundamental analysis, when we say fundamental analysis, is actually it's ratio analysis, right? But we're gonna get to the ratio analysis. But first we're gonna have to understand what income statement is about and what balance sheet is about. We're not going to talk about cash flow statement or retained earnings statement in this class because these statements are discussed more in depth in FNB 230, Finance 230, and we just simply don't have time to go into a cash flow statement because there's a lot of things. I mean, fundamental analysis or the ratio analysis, they are based on basically these two, income statement and balance sheet. Okay. So let's first let's delve into the income statement. So income statement, full name is, income statement is actually a short for income and expenses statement. Income and, oops. And very often students, even after taking, some of you may have already taken Accounting 122, but even after taking Accounting 122, a lot of students still confuse, income statement, the purpose and the line items, the constituting, the line items that make up income statement. They confuse those with the purpose of and the line items that make up the balance sheet. So in other words, oops, what did I do? Income statement and balance sheet have two different purposes. They are not, and a lot of students think, oh, everything is about, all the financial statements are about profit. No. Profit, of course, profit is the purpose of the income statement. I mean, profit is the end result of the income statement. That pi stands for profit, right? But again, because profit can be either positive or negative, right? Positive or negative. That's my it's not my way, but when I was a graduate student, my professor at the time always wrote positive and negative this way, and I thought it was very cool. I mean, you don't have to spell out positive or negative. I mean, this way it's quick and it's it's very sharp, and anyone with some ability to or some imagination can at least some imagination can easily see the logic behind it. Negative. Of course, when profit is positive, it's called profit. When profit is negative, when we have negative profit, what is it called in plain language? If profit is negative, what should it be called? Anyone? Anyone there? If the profit is negative, what's that called? Hello, anybody home?
Liability.
No. No, liability is debt. Liability is debt. So it is not the opposite concept of profit. So if the profit is negative, what is it?
A loss?
Yeah. It's called a loss. Okay, who was this? Shirley?
Yes.
Okay, Shirley, yeah, you got another 0.5. Yes, the opposite concept of profit is, of course, loss. Okay, but the loss, but it can be, we can also express it as positive and negative. Negative profit is loss, of course. Okay, so actually, liability is a balance sheet line item. Liability belongs here. In the balance sheet line item, liability is a balance sheet line item. So this is what I'm telling. This is what I'm talking about. People easily confuse the line items that belong to income statement and the line items, that belong to the balance sheet. But they are separate. They are quite separate, and one doesn't belong to the other. The line items that belong to the balance sheet don't belong to the income statement. The line items that belong to the income statement don't belong to the balance sheet, right? There is an exception. I mean, there are two exceptions, only two exceptions: depreciation and interest. Those are the only two exceptions. It can belong to both. Okay, they can belong to both, but all the other line items, they don't belong. They belong all separately. Okay, so because the goal of the income statement is to describe the process to arrive at profit. It is also sometimes is called P&L. I'm gonna write it over here. It's called P&L statement. Now think about it. If it is P&L, right? Positive profit, profit. Negative profit, loss. Right? P&L statement. So that's the goal of, or the purpose of the income statement. Whereas the why can't I write? Oops. It doesn't give me. Okay, that's. But the goal of the balance sheet is actually not profit, but it's about capital structure. Come on. Something's not right. It doesn't. Oh, I see. That should have been pressed. Capital structure is the goal of the balance sheet, whereas goal of the income statement is the profit. In other words, income statement describes the process to arrive at profit, and that basically that process to arrive at profit is called operating activity. In other words, income statement is describing operating activity, right? And I'm going to get to that later, in more depth, because what what is operating activity? Of course, for any business, operating activity is basically, selling something, paying out expenses, and arriving at profit. That's operating activity. Uh, when we say profit, there are several layers there as well. But balance sheet is about describing capital structure. That means, uh, the, that means, balance sheet describes basically, um, where the total assets of the company came from. And the total assets of the company came from only two sources. Uh, One is, a liability, or another name for liability is debt. Okay, the other one is equity. Okay, so then how debt is, the liability is, what it consists of, and uh, how much is the equity and how much is the debt. In other words, if the total asset, dollar value of the total assets of this company is 10 billion, this 10 billion came from somewhere, and it came from either equity and debt. And so if 6 billion came from equity, that means 4 billion came from debt. Then you can also say 60% equity and 40% debt. And that ratio, right, 60%, 60 to 40, that is capital structure. That's what is called capital structure. Okay? So the line items making up, the line items that's making up the balance sheet and income statement are completely different, right? With only two exceptions, depreciation and interest. But first, let's take a look at the income statements, the structure of income statement. It's sort of like, a bird's eye view. So obviously, income statement consists of income and expenses. Hence the name, income and expenses name. And income has two sources. Income comes from two sources. Primary source of income is sales revenue. Sales revenue. Secondary source of income is something like investment income. In other words, investment income is like rental income, or interest. Investment income is like interest income from the bonds, right, or our loans that we made, or dividends from the stocks that we own. And the rental income, if we are renting out something, so that's like a passive income. It's passive, right? It's passive income. It's passive income. Whereas, revenue is income from it's income from operating activity. And so operating activity is, basically, the income from, it's active. I mean, you are actively and aggressively selling something, right? Making something and selling something. So that's, the income generated from operating activity. So revenue means, the income from sale, right? When you say revenue, it's income from sale. But I will give you a fail-safe and infallible definition of revenue, because when I ask the students what is revenue, then they come up with all these weird, different, and fuzzy, cloudy verbiages. Verbal definitions are always, think about it. Verbal definitions are not firm. It's like a fog. It's foggy. It's not really, even though you define something very concretely, then eventually people forget, and then they cannot reproduce that concept really firmly, right? That's why verbal definitions are not clear. and it can change, from one person to another, because everyone gives their own interpretation. Always, they add their own interpretation. So a fail-safe concrete definition of revenue is actually price times quantity sold. Price times quantity sold. Isn't that right? Price of the good, price of, if you're selling, uh, uh, if you sell computer, and let's say you sell, if you're selling computer, there will be, many different models by many different manufacturers. But let's simplify. You sell only model X by a particular manufacturer, right? So model, then, how many, the price will be the same. Model X, the price of the Model X is, let's say, $500. And if you sell 10 units, you sold, then revenue is 5,000. If you sold, 1 unit, revenue is just 500. If you sold 100 units, revenue is 50,000. If you sold, 1,000 units, revenue is $500,000. If you sold 0, revenue is 0. Nothing can beat that definition. In other words, it's fail-safe. It's infallible. There's nothing fuzzy about it. Nothing, cloudy about it, right? So that's the best definition of revenue. Always the best definition is mathematical definition, because there's nothing, cloudy or foggy about it, right? Nothing fuzzy about it. And you might wonder, oh, but in reality, if your store sells computers, there will be many models by many different manufacturers. Yeah, no problem. We can expand it. I mean, if it is Model X, then price of X, PX times QX, and there's Model Y, PX time, and then plus PY times QY, and there's Model Z, then plus PZ times QZ, right? And then that will cover everything that you sold, right? You can expand it like that. So, okay, I think, we'll need to continue this tomorrow, because my, the technician appointment is almost, there, and so I will dismiss the class a little early today. So if you have any questions, please email me. And because of the this technician taking up probably 30 minutes to 1 hour, I don't know, whatever the router has, whatever it takes. I can't take any I can't have any office hour today. So I hope you guys will have a great rest of the day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And please email me for questions. Okay. All right. Take care, everyone. I'll so then stop recording, and